All right, I'm back out here working on this Cayenne. I finally got the drain plug, so I just finished putting fresh oil in it. And let's take a look at that level. I put 9 quarts, but with a filter change. It calls for 9.5, but we'll take a look. So yeah, it's pretty nice having a dipstick. Most of the modern Porsches don't have them anymore. So that's showing right up at the full mark, but I haven't started it, so it's going to fill up the oil filter, and we'll lose at least a half a quart in there. I did get a new battery installed. There's YouTube video on that, so I didn't video it. And I've been keeping it on a battery tender. That was 3 or 4 days ago, and if this thing has got some kind of drain on the battery, I didn't want to ruin a brand new battery. So I took the charger off. Let's see if it'll start on its own without a jump or a charger. Okay, fingers crossed. Yeah, still got warning lights. That display is non-functional. I know there's good information there, so I'll have to research about how to get that to work again. Yeah, it's still got that little miss. And I can see it with my, yeah, definitely, you can feel it kind of shaking. But good news is, fresh battery made a lot of difference. Okay, let me make sure it's not leaking. Yeah, I think that's just residue from the oil change there around the plug. It's not dripping, so the plug's good. All right, we bring it back down and check the dipstick again. So yeah, I ended up having to put basically another quart in there, top it off, and then pretty soon after I started it the second time, I got this little tick. You know, lifters, I think I heard that whenever I looked at the car the first time. So, well, there it goes. It just went away. Maybe the clean oil is helping things. So, and I knew this, the headlights are funky. So from what I can tell, this xenon bulb is low beam. High beam should be this guy, because I got high beam on right now. So I got high beam over here, and it's more like a halogen. It's a browner bulb. And then low beam out is out on this side. So I'm going to have to pull both of those headlight assemblies, which I believe you access through this little cover. So we'll take a look at that. The owner had bought a couple bulbs. I'm not sure which is which, but that's something we can do right now. So this over-designed flap comes out. Looks like it, well, anyway, it comes out. And then down in there, you can see it's almost like a big hex. I can't really, but this is a tool. It was in the glove compartment. It may be part of the stock toolkit. So you can see the receptacle down there, and they're giving you instructions right here on how to lock and unlock. So looks like unlock is counterclockwise. See what happens. Yep, that starts to push it out. And it only went like a quarter turn. So I guess at this point I can just wiggle it out. Let me get both hands free and try that. So now you can see what happens when you turn that. It's got like a fork on it that moves a rod, and you got to move it just enough and you'll see it try to push the light out. I might have monkeyed it up on the other side because I don't know where the rod is anymore. But oh, I see it. It's on. Yeah, I've spun the fork all the way around, so hopefully I can get down in there without tearing the whole engine apart and fix that. All right, once you get the headlight sprung out, there's one multi-connector there, and I'm trying to figure out the proper sequence to get it to unlock. Seems like whatever I do just breaks more plastic off. I mean, as long as I can get it back in and put some RTV around it, that'll be okay. Let me work on this and I'll report back. All right, that little tab broke off, of course, but I was able to kind of wiggle it off. It looks like right in there is like a slotted hook kind of assembly. You can see the little tang that it clips onto. So anyway, all right, let me get this on the bench and we'll take a look at the bulbs. So on the passenger side, it's this high beam that's out, which is more like a halogen. So it should be behind this door here. Let me see how many of these plastic tabs I can break off this guy. God. Oh man, and it is warm today, just like that. Bam. That's crazy. All right, let me use two hands and maybe I can salvage the last tab. Okay, being super careful, I was able to get the door off and salvage that last tab. Just looking at this ground wire here, insulation looks a little crusty. So that bulb appears to be held in with torque screws. So let me get in there and remove those. So the bulbs that I got with the car, this may be that particular bulb. Maybe not. From looking at it from this side, it does look to be the same. Well, let me pull it out. We'll have a better look at it. Okay, you pull the torque screws out and it comes out like an assembly, and looks like that's just a clipped on socket, that black socket, right? That ground wire does not look good. I may need to splice in some new wire. Looked like it may have already had some work done to it. It's got electrical tape on there. Okay. See some other wires in there with potentially dodgy insulation. Looks like all this stuff may have gotten really hot. Okay. I've seen that kind of stuff before. So this was an extra bulb that came with it. I don't think it's any good. I'm gonna put the continuity checker on it. Yeah, because it's tungsten, you can actually do this, or quartz halogen or whatever it is. If it's xenon, it won't work because it's a gas. So let's see if these bulbs are any good. So the bulb that was in it metered no good. Looks like that little filament is fractured. However, This bulb that's like discolored actually metered out good. And note that there's this little odd cage that the bulb fits into that you'll need to actually goes on the other way. Yeah. So and the clips that hold it on, in theory you could pull this out, this socket off, without removing the torque screws. I don't know that you could get the bulb out. You at least have to loosen the torque screws. But I had already broken so many plastic parts, I'm like, I'm gonna just take the screws out. To hell with it. So you can really only get the cage with the bulb in it back in there one particular way, because there's a little tang right there that mates up with a notch in the bulb. All this is so incredibly over designed, it's just ridiculous. Now we still have the issue with these wires, insulation fracturing on them. I'm going to go ahead and open up this other compartment and see what the wiring looks like in it, although the xenon bulb worked on this side, did not work on the other side. Also note that there are adjustment, they're like male torques, where you could adjust your horizontal and vertical axis on the reflector for this high beam bulb. Okay, here's the xenon low beam bulb, and you can see it's a completely different socket, different cable, everything. I'm looking at the wiring to it. It doesn't appear to be fractured. But I am seeing a little electrical tape. I don't know if it came from the factory like that or not. I mean, ultimately I need to get insulation on these cables that are fracturing, because that'll cause a short. So, which may mean that this socket needs to come out just to access all this wire. I mean, I can get in there with an X-Acto knife and kind of cut it back just to look at the condition. But I really don't want, I mean, ultimately it should just blow a fuse or catch the headlight assembly on fire, I guess. Okay, I trimmed back the, let's call it the binding sleeve. Makes it a bundle, and there's no fractures beyond that. So, and it's a little bit on this white lead, which would be the positive. The brown is the negative on that socket, and then this gray lead, which is probably another positive, I would imagine. But that's the only three that have the insulation cracking. So I'm just going to wrap those with electrical for now, and when we pull the other side, we'll see if this is a reoccurring issue. I mean, the proper way to do is cut the wire out, replace it with the proper wires, gauge, color, use good soldered butt splices, all that stuff, and I can do that. But I think at this time, just making sure this problem doesn't, because if this ground were to touch one of those exposed areas, especially here, I know that's a positive. That would be a short, and that would blow a fuse. So I figured out that you really have to put all this back together to get it in. There's no way you're going to put that bulb in that hole with that cage loose and then get this socket on there. It ain't going to happen. It's too many loose parts. So again, this is just incredibly over-engineered and ridiculously difficult. So if you take those two retaining screws out and change the bulb and then piece that socket all back together and get it ready to go back in, you are going to have to put those screws in loosely, stick the cage socket assembly in there, and then turn it. That's the reason it has ears on it. You turn it clockwise and it'll go under the screws. There's no way you're going to get those screws down in there with all that loose crap flopping around. Believe me, this is how I know. Well, last night I had to step away from these headlights. They were really pissing me off, but where I landed was I got the passenger side all buttoned up without breaking any more plastic tabs, and I started in on the driver's side. Driver's side needs the xenon bulb, so let's take a look at that thing. So the xenon bulb, which I've already pulled out, has this weird locking collar, and it's got this folded tab. Taking it out is a piece of cake because that locking tab was readily accessible. So basically how that works is you unlock that tab. Let me see if I can do it with one hand. Of course not. Hang on. So yeah, you just press on it and then that collar opens up. Okay, that's all fine and dandy getting it out, because then, so what that's locking around is this collar on the reflector. And I mean, obviously you have to undo that connector, which surprisingly just pulled right off. It has a little bit of a locking mechanism there, some small tiny tabs, but they didn't seem to grab very well. So it comes out super easy, and the previous owner had an extra bulb, but I'm not sure it's a direct fit, because I think this is the one that came out. Note that that collar has notches in it, right? This collar does too. So that locking collar has to seat in those notches, those two notches, right? And then otherwise, everything appears to be identical except for the socket is a little bit different than what may or may not be original. This is Osram. This is Eco. And then there was another one. I'm assuming this one's burned out. It's got some discoloration. Xenon bulbs, when they start doing that, they're generally not any good. This is Osram, so that's probably original. One of these, I was monkeying around with it. And so that's an electrode that comes up over the top of the xenon and fires that gas. So you want to be careful of that. Looks like it may have been this one. This one's kind of boogered up right there. Anyway, unfortunately, there's no way to test these without it. It requires a ballast and all that stuff. So, oh boy, I have to figure out which one is good. I mean, I guess I can just stick it in there and hook up the connector and try to fire it. But where I left off last night, I wasn't shooting any video, was putting this collar back in there, closing it up, because you want these tabs, right, to go in those grooves, and then you squeeze the collar down. and that's what locks it in place. I struggled with that for about half hour and then just said screw it. So let me struggle with it some more. Okay, so I feel pretty stupid about this, but so the way you do this is go ahead and lock that collar on the bulb, you know, where that's seated, that folded tab. Then, this is really dumb, you just stick it in where the those tabs go match up with those notches, and then you just turn it. It'll go right on there. I don't know why I didn't think of that to begin with, but you know, probably explains it in the owner's manual. Yeah, once you spin it on there, it grabs just fine. Now, the orientation, I don't know that it matters that much. I think what does matter, I noted that on the reflector, see how it's got a wider opening? I think you want that filament, for lack of a better term, electrode, filament, whatever it is, to be in that wider part of the opening. I also noticed on this driver's side, these leads on the incandescent bulb, the high beam, they are cracked, the insulation. So I'm going to need to doctor that up. However, it looks like they were wrapped more at the factory or whatever than they were on the other headlight. So I think this is a combination of quality of the insulation, the temperatures inside of the fixture, and I don't know, environmental. So I did a quick search, and yeah, this is a common problem. I didn't see any kind of recall though, so apparently this must happen after the car is out of warranty, I'll bet. So I'll probably be revisiting this, but the main thing is just kind of make it safe for now while I'm testing all the lights and getting rid of the codes. So I'm gonna put the doors back on this and stick these two headlight units in the car and see if they're all working. Okay, so getting really good at taking these xenon bulbs in and out. What I found was when I took the good xenon bulb out of the passenger side and put it in the driver's side, it does not work. So that's a circuit problem. And I took the best looking loose bulb from my 3 bulbs and put it in the passenger side, and it does work. So I know I've got 2 good bulbs. Now, so it's a circuit issue going up to the low beam, because the xenon is a low beam. So we're going to need to start tracing backwards from the bulb. Actually, the easy thing is it could be a fuse. So let me consult the owner's manual. Well, if it has a fuse chart, which some new cars don't even have that. Okay, so it's got 2 fuse boxes, one in the engine compartment, driver's side. There's basically 2 lids you have to access, and then there's another one in the dashboard on the driver's side, just a pry open door kind of thing. And apparently what I'm looking for, saw it a while ago, well, there's separate fuses for the xenon bulbs. So there's a third fuse box. On the passenger side, the trim, I just pried on the top carefully and it popped out. You can see it's got those clips. So it didn't break that, thank goodness. And I'm gonna have to, I can't get the door open any wider because of the lift, but position 37 is the left side xenon bulb. So I'm gonna have to get an inspection mirror in there to figure out which one's 37. And there's a map on the door. So 37 should be the last fuse in the third row down, is what I'm seeing. Okay. Well, we're in the thick of it now. So I went all through the passenger side fuse box. It doesn't really match up with what's in the owner's manual. Fuse locations, it's weird. So what I did do is swap the two headlight assemblies, and the problem is basically moving with the headlight assembly. So now when I plug in passenger side on the right hand circuit, the xenon bulb works. And of course it doesn't work over here. So the driver's side xenon circuit inside of the headlight assembly is bad. So let's dig into that. So under the headlight assembly, there is something that what they're calling online a drive unit. I suspect it's more like a, well, it's probably a power supply of some sort. There are 3 torque screws that hold it on, and it's got a multi-connector. So when I pulled the driver's side, first thing I noticed is it's really dirty. The contacts are dirty. Yeah, so I'm going to clean that up, and I'm going to swap them to see if the problem moves with this unit. And if that's the case, I'll have to look and see what the cost of that part is. So the passenger side, the contacts look much better, a lot cleaner. So I don't know what happened on the, actually it's the driver's side. Heck, I can't remember which is which now. But so yeah, the clean one was passenger side. That was the side the xenon works. The driver's side was dirty. So I'm going to keep cleaning on these contacts and swap them and see if I can get them both to work. Okay, I confirmed that the power unit, ballast, whatever it is no good. So I got to look up that part, and we'll keep working this thing. Okay, so what I found out about it is a ballast. I just searched by the part number there, and the Hella units are expensive. They're 300 to 500 bucks. You can get aftermarket reproductions. It looks like they basically copied the label and blotted over Hella. You can get that on Amazon, and a bulb for like 130 bucks. I may try that because Amazon's return policy is pretty cool. I gotta double check that because it's not an Amazon purchase, it's from a vendor. So this might not be too bad. I did clean up the other headlight and assembly and stick it in, and good news is I used a little rubbing compound, and all the latex from the seller's garage door has come off. Well, I still got a little bit here. I can get it off. Look like it may have gone through the paint in just a couple little spots. I think the whole car needs to be compounded because it's just got like this film, and hopefully that's not the clear that's screwed up. But with some rubbing compound, I'm hoping I can, remove some of that. I think at one time this had a clear bra on it and it wasn't removed very well. I know that's what's going on with the exterior mirrors. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that because that's pretty thick. So, but that's a low priority thing. So, yeah, I'll get that ballast on order and see if we can wake up this other headlight assembly, and then we'll move on to what's next. Oh, by the way, I did order some clips for the seats because what I tried didn't work, and I'll do a video on all that because there's quite a few videos on how to repair those seat backs, and it's not as easy as just putting glue on those, putting the seat back on. One guy had them pressed up against the passenger seat, said that would work. Well, that's a bunch of crap. I actually strapped them to the back, and it doesn't work. So I got the bottom clips. That's the key here, because if the bottom clips are broken, all that weight is on the top clips, and it'll never hold. The other side is barely hanging on, but I ordered 4 bottom clips, and then so I'll have to glue them on where the old ones, broken ones are, and then re-glue these again. So yeah, it's another bad design. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. We're still working this thing, and someday it's going to be a nice ride. Promise.